Hello and welcome to the Hospitality Mavericks podcast with me, Michael Tingser. We at Hospitality Mavericks are on a mission to inspire leaders and entrepreneurs in the hospitality industry to create heart-centered and profitable businesses from the inside out, the kind that both employees and customers love and support. And I'm extremely excited to have our guest today, Julia Gometz. Julia is a global thought leader and practitioner in people strategy. Her book, The Brandful Workforce, highlights how businesses should strive to have a workforce who are crazy passionate about the products and services they provide. We sat down with Julia to hear her story and the Brandful Workforce concept and how to build great brands from the inside out. Welcome, Julia. It's a pleasure to have you here at Hospitality Maverick podcast. We've really been looking forward to hear your story today, but also have a conversation about how important employee experience can be for company's performance and profit.
Great. Well, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you so much, Michael. And so I'll give you a little bit about my background, and I'm excited to continue the conversation. So I really started off in college and graduate school studying conflict resolution. I was very interested in psychology and how people can get along peacefully. I did have somewhat of a career in that, training in mediation, conducting mediations, working internationally and nationally. And then I was very interested in taking this more to organizations, business, the corporate world. So I got into a really exciting company called JetBlue Airways at the very beginning. And I came in as a role of creating an employee relations department. And I quickly realized it was all about putting out fires. And I really was compelled. There was something in me that said there's got to be a better way to deal with this, a way that we can prevent it. So I started looking at different metrics, speaking with colleagues across the organization in marketing and finance and the operations to really look and see what we could do. And that really brought me to a much higher view of the overall employee experience. We tested out different measurements. We took marketing measures such as the NPS, Net Promoter Score. We applied it to the employees instead of asking customers what they, if they would recommend the company to a friend or relative. We asked employees, would you recommend this company as a place to work? It was really exciting. I think we were the first company to do that. And the measure really took off internally. And I think other companies are now using that measure. But it was a lot of experimentation at JetBlue. It was very entrepreneurial, as some people like to say, being an entrepreneur within an organization. Very exciting. And after 8 years of doing some really fun and amazing work with the culture, the company was really known for its employees as brand ambassadors. And I realized that was actually an area where there was very little research and work. And people used to call me and ask me from other companies, how do you get your employees to be so incredible? So I really wanted to dive in on that specific topic. I left the company. I did a lot of research. I wrote a book called The Brandful Workforce, and brandful is a word that I have come up with to really describe either employees or customers or company that's really full of people who are behind the brand authentically and genuinely. And so I now have a roadmap that I work with organizations on how they can really develop this brandful workforce and brandful company, doing more writing, and I'm involved in some other entrepreneurial activities. And it's really a lot of fun. And it's amazing to see transformations of organizations and really also new organizations be able to set up in a way that really puts them in a position for long-term success.
Wow, that's quite an exciting journey you've been on there. Just for the people on the podcast here that hasn't been that lucky yet to read your book and don't have the full understanding of the concept being a brandful workforce, can you in short terms just describe how the concept works and what is this that you had to work with to become this brandful workforce?
Right. Well, I have what I describe as the brandful basics. And if you don't have, there's three things. You really need to have a really good business model. Nobody wants to work for a company that's going down the tubes, that's not going to be around in the next couple of years. So a good business model. You have to have a really solid customer promise. So customers know what they can expect and that they actually get that. And the third component for the basics is the employee promise. And that all has to do with the employee experience. And it's, what are you offering your employees? What are they going to get out of working there, and what do they need to put in? What is the company looking for from them? So it's this two-way or multi-channel directional way that you're really forming relationships and being able to deliver on them. Within those basics, I am a huge proponent of letting people know, customers and employees, what you're not. Be right out there. I think IKEA is very good at saying, we do not want employees that have egos. So, be out there, be unique, be different. Those are just the basics. Once you get the basics, then the book talks about all the things that your employees can do to be brandful and really be behind your brand.
That's very, very simple, clear model. Just to repeat as I get, yeah. You need to have a business that can drive commercial profit in a way, because as you said, nobody wants to be part of something that's failing. You need to deliver your customer promise. It's much easier to be an employee in a business where works and you deliver great customer experience, and then you need to be on top of all the standards and also the employee experience they have inside the company. Is that correctly understand?
Yes, that's great. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
And that sounds very, 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 very simple when we talk with these terms. But I guess there's a lot of work that has to be put in place to get the fundamentals right. I guess it's not something that just comes easy from your own experience as well.
You know what, Michael? It just depends. Some leaders get it intuitively, but the reason I wrote the book, to be honest with you, I think it actually is easy. It's a mindset. And to some people, it comes naturally. For JetBlue, I think it was something, for a lot of companies, they say, well, we don't know how we got this, but we got it. That's because they had all the ingredients there. But the reason I wrote the book was to put them down so that other companies could actually do it if they didn't have all the ingredients. But mission and values are a very big part of it, of the part of the foundation, which are embedded in those 3 items. But, it to me, and I think to even you, it actually is simple. It's just that a lot of people don't believe it. And that's if you don't believe that people matter, you're just never going to be able to implement any of this stuff.
Yeah, so what you're saying is it starts with mindset. It starts with your principles of how you want to run a business, and what you believe in is the right way to run a business. Then it's much easier to get the more functional things in place, like getting work and pay and reward and all those things that just come much more easy when you're very clear on your vision, mission, and your approach and mindset to your business.
Right. And also, business model, that doesn't come easy to everybody. And conditions change, your competition changes, tools change. So, at any point, people need to refresh the business model. So those 3 basics that I mentioned, it is fairly simple, but again, at any point, things can get in the way of any one of those 3.
It's a very interesting point you have here, because I've been in worked with organizations where there's a lot of elements that's right, but what they miss is like the big picture and how to glue these things together. And when you see that problem is there, it often comes back to to the leadership. What are they choosing to do? What is their view on people? And you can often go back and look at their view on people maybe isn't as people doesn't maybe come first, maybe profit come first sometimes. And you can really see that's where the missing glue is to make all the component work. Because what you're talking about, many companies maybe already have these functions, but they're not glued together, this invisible glue, I call it, which is the mindset or the vision and the values.
Right. And it comes out. That's why what my work and my book is all about being genuine and being authentic. And so you may say, oh, people come first, or, we have a great employee promise. But which companies, the people and the leaders are truly listening to their employees. And it's incredible. The people who really do that, employees know what's wrong. They know how and what to fix. And it's a collaboration. And when you really put employees in the driver's seat, that they really can help you out and become a part of the daily solutions.
I can't remember it was last week or some weeks ago, we had a conversation, Julia, where I said, like, in my experience when in hospitality, when I walk into a restaurant, I can feel straight away if this is a place where people are put first. You can just feel it in the energy of a business. I know that I've gone into offices where people are put first. There's a different vibe there. You
Yeah.
just know it straight away. We know the big companies like Zappos is very known in the US. We have a Sweet Green in the US as well. We have a company like Pret in the UK, which is a sandwich and a coffee chain, and you can just feel it's very different from all the others.
I actually don't think everybody out there has that ability to just sense it like you or like me. I really don't. But some people do. But in terms of really getting into the details, we've been to so many places, we've worked in many places, and there are people that have actually never experienced working in a Brandful company. If you haven't, you don't really know what it feels like or what the difference is. And that's again why I kind of wrote the book, and why you and I do the work we do, is that we know what it's all about, and we know that it's successful.
So what is your view? How many people do you think, if percentage, have actually, just a rough calculation, do you think have been that lucky to work in a Brandful company?
My guess would be 10, maybe 15% of the population. My guess also is that that's probably about the percentage of companies that actually are Brandful, maybe as much as 20. But to me, Brandful is really raising the bar on all companies. And, that's kind of one of my goals with my work, is to really spread this concept a bit more. And it's something that companies can really seek to achieve, because not many are there.
Just to give some, examples of companies you believe, maybe your top 3 favorites organizations you believe that is a Brandful workforce.
Well, I hesitate to say any really large companies, but when I do ask people, when I speak to audiences and groups, I ask them, who do you think's Brandful? Some of them say, Apple, Google, Southwest Airlines, possibly JetBlue Airlines. Some people have even said Amazon, although I definitely don't think Amazon is. So just to get out, some names, and you've mentioned some, Pret, Sweet Green. What I've noticed is there are so many companies that are unheard of, maybe private companies that are maybe 1,000, 2,000, even less than that, 500, 100. Actually, that's one of the current projects I'm working on. These companies are not really that well known. They may not have been around that long. They're growing. They may be startups. They may have been around a long time. There's a company here in Long Island that I will tell you is definitely Brandful. They have 250 employees. It's called Clear Vision Optical. I've been there. I've seen what they do. It's unbelievable. Everybody's behind the brand. They've been around, I think, 60 years. Their leaders are incredible. So one of my goals is to really uncover all of these hidden gems, Brandful companies, expose them, give them the exposure they deserve. I'm looking to actually create a network of Brandful companies that will help them in recruiting and in all that they need, but really also to show and provide the examples out there. There's one, I haven't really looked at this, but I've seen some stuff. There's in your neck of the woods, restaurants called McAllister's Deli. I haven't done the research, but online they sort of seem like they are.
Yeah, I've noticed them as well, and I don't have the specific knowledge, but I definitely see they're also growing rapidly right now. I know in the States as well. So what about if you take these Brandful organizations, you're talking about smaller organization. Is size maybe important as well? Is it easier to make a smaller business Brandful than a large complex business? Or how do you see that?
I really see that as the $1 million question. I know, like, for example, I've been looking at Starbucks. I'm giving a presentation soon about Starbucks, IBM. When you have hundreds of thousands of employees, is it possible to be Brandful? I mean, we can go by store, by location, and possibly say, yes, these locations are Brandful. Overall, is Brandful? I haven't gotten there. I know these companies want to be Brandful. I think when here's the struggle is the informal versus the formal. And when you have large organizations, you are forced to have very complex, formalized, officialized policies. And sometimes that is what kind of gets in the way of being Brandful, because being Brandful is really empowering employees to really do what's necessary to advocate for the brand and really represent the brand. And if they're constantly having to look in some kind of policy or guidebook and they can't be themselves, it kind of hinders that. So maybe I'm not sure if I've answered your question. It's a hard question, but those are some of the things I struggle with.
I think one thing I grabbed from there, I don't have any science on this. What I recognize often is when us in also in hospitality, when it becomes very rule driven and complexity rise, especially around scale, you can actually see these businesses become less. Let's just keep the brandful word from a feeling point of view, and that's also what's happening in there. Good people leave. The good managers leave, etc. Because attention to them disappears. And I've actually talked with a couple of senior hospitality people recently, because there's a big storm going on in the UK where there's a lot of trouble in hospitality. Big chains are closing down units, and they say it's about being lean all the time, not from a cost point of view, but as an organization, so you avoid this complexity, because that's the devil when you scale, as the complexity comes in a way. So scale in a speed so you're lean, was a guy told me the other day.
Yes. And so for a company, like I've been just doing a lot of work on Starbucks, having the manager of each store completely in charge of what happens at that store, I think is the way to go. However, they also have to guarantee their customers that they will have a certain, consistent service when they go in. So it's that tug, pull, push, of, well, we have to have some consistency, but we also have to have some personality. And I did see from Starbucks, I see they actually have mugs from each city. I mean, there's some sort of customization. I don't know, but I think if larger companies can sort of become more local, that might help.
Yeah, so it's about taking it down locally and get autonomy to the local managers to run their businesses as brandful as possible in a complex world of big organization. That's a really good point. But what about when we talk about this, and there's always that people sometimes say to me, Michael, this is very fluffy what you're talking about. We need to talk about some commercial results. And I'm very focused on, we put people first, but profit comes second important. Because as you said, if the business doesn't make money, nobody wants to be part of it. So of course the business has to make money. But how did you prove that in JetBlue? Because that's probably the best example to take, that there was a clear correlation between improved employee experience, customer experience, and profit.
Well, we actually did run a lot of different analyses, very specific. And just to give you something specific that we ran, we looked at our customer scores, customer loyalty, which ties directly to revenue. And we looked at on board the flight, and we wanted to know what would make the biggest difference to have customers recommend JetBlue over another airline when they say, yes, I'll recommend that you fly JetBlue to a friend, which predicted the revenues. Okay. So we had a lot of employee data. And so we actually we were able to find out that when the pilot came out of the cockpit and stood in front of the cabin and greeted everybody on the plane in his own or her own announcement, that act alone was a big influencer on whether people would recommend the company. This is a very granular, detailed example of one thing that we did. I think really hits home and proves a point.
And it's a very simple thing. It sounds very simple. I was thinking that's it's a very logical thing. You think that's just what you should do, but the impact of these small logical things. Sometimes I've seen similar things as well. I didn't have any data on that. I was part of a coffee chain. We built from 4 to 27. And we were very focused on the management team that when we went around in the cafe, we said hello to everyone. And the manager said, we learned them how to say good morning to people and goodbye and thank you for your time. And that was really powerful from, we could see retention go up massively after that was, put into practice, and we only could measure on our gut feel in a way, but we could see that had a massive impact, just small things like that in the organization.
Michael, you and I have discussed one of the projects that I'm working on. I would love to see this actually come to fruition one day, but I have been working with online data, artificial intelligence, to be able to measure how brandful a company is and to really be able to hone in very specifically and be able to prove, once and for all, the connection between people and profit. And we are working on it. We have submitted for a grant. We've looked for some investors. It's very exciting. We know how to do it. It's a lengthy and very complicated process, but maybe one day we'll be able to complete that. So it is on our radar. Even when we do that, we know there will be naysayers. You can use data to prove anything you want in anything. And so we're not banking on that. And that's why I started the conversation by saying it's a mindset. If you think being nice to somebody or creating a positive experience is going to make things better and you have a competitive advantage, you'll do it. If you don't, you won't.
Yeah, and I think that comes to everything in life, doesn't it? It starts with how you view the world and how you approach it and what energy you get to the table with. So yeah, just to stay a bit by that, because it's very interesting. I often talk with people about that. One of the challenges we have with running the organizations we have today, and the reason why we sometimes have difficulties making them perform, is because we haven't changed our view on how we run organizations. Because many organizations, in my view, are still back, and that goes in many industries, not only in the hospitality industry, running their business like they were in the industrial revolution. Some have gone on to more focusing on performance achievement. That's where all the whole corporate model came out, performance management systems and ratings and so on. And then we have these new organizations, and you talked a bit about, you've been observing, smaller startup organization that's much more purpose driven and give autonomy to the employees to actually almost self-management. So it's like 3 big steps that has to be taken, and many organizations are still back in the industrial age, in my world, especially when it comes to the view on people.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, what you just said.
Do you think there is a need for having a bit more a movement on that before we actually can start seeing there will be more people, so we can come, instead of talking 10 to 15% of people worked in a brandful company, we actually can talk about 25%? Do you think there's an evolution that has to happen, or do you think there's going to be like a big bang and then we're going to have more brandful companies?
Michael, I would be so happy if we could get a movement going. And I've been working on it. I've been thinking of it. I think that we can do it. I think there's enough people out there, when they hear the message, they're going to want to work in a brandful company. I am right now working as hard as I can. I really want to launch this brandful companies network of companies that we identify as brandful, so that we can get, once people really see and understand. I'm going to be I'm going to be relaunching a blog of brandful companies, and I already have the first one written of the first company I'm going to showcase. But it's really exciting right now, because I think once people really see and get inside these companies, I wanted to do some videos as well. Once they really see and can understand, I think people are going to want to work in brandful companies. Once we can see the demand for that, that's going to drive companies to want to become more brandful.
Yeah, it's about showcasing, real life example of businesses that's really successful commercially, as well as on the employee experience, I guess. And that's where people start to think we need to do something different, because we can't save us out of things anymore. We can't be more automated. We can't, be more efficient in a way. We need to start doing something different, I guess. And also, I have a big belief there's also going to be a big change when we have a new generation on management. It's going to happen as well, because there's especially millennials, they want something different from work. And therefore, these managers that's going to manage the millennials, or millennials themselves becoming managers, would have a very different approach to how to manage and lead.
It'll be interesting. I feel like, I'm not sure if it's millennials or just a population of a certain age, maybe, that haven't gotten married and had kids and have more responsibilities and that kind of a thing. But yeah, we'll see. We will see.
What about technology? Can technology help with this, advance this process in a way? Can technology be a help, or do you think that's a disruption to become, more people first focused?
I think it's a help. In fact, just earlier today, I was just looking at a list of new startup tech companies specifically on the employee experience, with new tools, new measures that companies are starting to adopt. And I see a growing community. It's incredible. It is really growing around this. And I think that technology is actually bringing it to light and helping, because, companies can now afford these kind of tools that are coming out and be able to see. I think what they focus on is recruiting and retention, and also engagement. They want to get, people that are really into being there. So once they start using some of these tools that have come out, they see, oh, I can get better, people that are more, engaged. I can keep them engaged. I'll save money. My business is going better. So I definitely think that the new technologies are helping.
Yeah, and that's I actually have the same view on it, because technology can actually maybe fast track that what we're talking about, that shift that has to happen to become more brandful. In the end of any interview, we always have one last question. We ask people: is there any very specific advice you can give to somebody that's want to build a brandful business? Where do they start? Or maybe there's more than one, maybe maximum 3 good things to get started with. What is the first step?
The first step is to go out and talk to your employees and to listen to them. How are things going? What do you think could be improved? I think that's really the first step for anybody. And that's an easy first step. Just talking, asking questions, listening, shall I say? listening to others talk.
That's a great advice, because that doesn't cost anything as well. That's very, very good thing to start doing. Every leader at any level in an organization can go out and do that tomorrow. Talk and listen to what the employee says and take that on board.
Yeah. And number 2, I would say, if anybody has been interested in this podcast, to reach out. I am starting a Brandful Companies Network. If anyone listening to this feels that their company is brandful, or they know a brandful company, I would love to know about it. I would like to look at it, add them to the list, write a blog, do a video. We really want to start spreading the positive examples of the brandful companies that are out there.
Massive thank you for your time, Julia, and I'm sure that we're going to be connecting soon again here on the podcast to hear more about all the stories you're going to go around and collecting, and all your research. I think there will be another podcast that needs to happen, not in too long time. I think that would fit really well with the journey.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me, Michael. It's always fantastic speaking with you. And I look forward to speaking with you again soon, and listening to the rest of the podcasts that you have and will be conducting.
Great. Thank you, Julia. That's all we have time for today, guys. Thank you, Julia, for giving such an experienced insight into how people can really be the X factor in creating outstanding businesses by putting people first. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please like, share, subscribe, or even tell us what you think. To what extent do you think employees can be a valuable extension of your company's brand? What do you do to ensure employees buy into your brand? Especially thanks to Laura from Let's Talk Video Production for making this happen. We hope you have enjoyed today's Hospitality Maverick podcast with me, Michael Tingsager. Tune in next time for more great insights, and in the meantime, find out more about us at hospitalitymavericks.com. Thanks for listening, and be Maverick.